Coming up on today's show, the Day of the Dead arrives in Salford.
Can science help you find love? Manchester Science Festival answers this question.
And destination Manchester Airport as we climb on board a research plane. Hello and welcome to Quays News. I'm Matthew Wood.
And I'm Vanessa Akpan. First up today, thousands of post office staff across the country went on a strike yesterday as part of an ongoing dispute over job losses and pension cuts.
80 Crown post offices in the UK have closed down with more than 3,000 workers on strike in a dispute over job losses, the closure of defined benefits pension scheme, and the closure and privatisation of Crown post offices.
However, Salford and central Manchester remains unaffected, though future strikes action has not been ruled out. The post and post offices are open for business. Dave Ward, the Communication Worker Union General Secretary, said, "The stakes have never been higher for the future of post office, its workers and the communities they serve."
Joining us in the studio is our political correspondent, Paul Robinson. So Paul, how is this, this is the second time it's happened, right? So why is this happening then?
Well, it's, yeah, like you said, it's the second time it's happened. The last one was in September. What's happening is, essentially, pensions are being cut. One worker lost £38,000 a year down to £18,000 a year. And post offices across the country are being privatised. 65 are being planned to be sold to WH Smiths, for example.
And how would this affect us in general as a whole?
Well, it essentially means less post offices. That means less post going in and out. If you want to get a parcel out of the country, it will probably be harder. However, there will be other places that will do the post, obviously, such as Royal Mail. It's just a bit difficult to think what life would be like without a post office, though.
And do you think it will escalate at all? Do you think there'll be any more?
Oh, certain. The CWU have confirmed that unless action is taken, they will be escalating the strikes all the way up to Christmas.
Yeah, what will happen during Christmas, do you think?
Well, that means if we do have strikes during Christmas, it'll be harder to get Christmas cards out to friends and loved ones, and Father Christmas might not be getting the Christmas lists from kids.
And do you think that'll promote and sort of encourage some more sort of rebellion, I guess, against this, do you think?
Well, only time will tell, I'm afraid. We can just wait and see how the strike affects people and whether they consider it that big a deal.
Well, thank you.
Paul.
Thank you for having you here. Thank you for being here.
A recent survey has revealed that 1 in 2 Russians believe that the conflict in Syria will lead to a third world war. The poll comes as fears are growing for the 275,000 civilians in Aleppo, whilst Putin prepares to launch a fresh military attack on the city this week.
We spoke to the director of Rethink Rebuild Society, Dr. Haytham Alam-Wamwi, about a local resident can do to resolve this crisis.
I'm urging them to put pressure on the UK government to find solution for this situation. And the solution will not be by words. Statements and condemnation will do nothing. Russia is involving, Iran is involving, all those who are backing the brutal regime, they are doing something, are actioning, and we are just condemning and acting by statements. That's not enough. They should find solution by action.
With Halloween yesterday, we've heard Night of the Dead, Living Dead. But what of the Day of the Dead? Well, it's a Mexican celebration that has now arrived in Salford. Andy Watson reports.
Celebration to commemorate the loved ones who are no longer with us. Dia de Muertos, or Day of the Dead, is a holiday traditionally celebrated throughout Mexico, and the festivities made their way to Islington Mill in Salford.
I realise that in this country there is no celebration of people that have passed, for friends and lots of people to get together and celebrate lives and our nearest and dearest who are no longer with us.
In a year that has seen a number of celebrity deaths, event organisers encourage the festival goers to don skull face paint and share memories of those who have passed, as well as making a donation to the Anthony Nolan charity.
There's a huge shortage of stem cell donors worldwide, and Anthony Nolan is not government funded and not NHS funded, so we rely on charitable donations.
The event took place until the early morning, offering those in attendance a unique way to honour the dead.
I've hung a picture of my father up there, you know, and I've lit a candle and had a bit of a moment of contemplation and stuff, because it's about celebration of life. That's what it's about, and with a Mancunian twist.
I'm Andy Watson for Quays News.
Manchester Science Festival celebrated its 10th year by showing the best of science over 10 days. One of its destinations was Manchester Airport, where a research plane landed. Our reporter P. Muhlenstein climbed on board.
On the outside, it looks just like a normal plane, but on the inside, it is the largest, most capable research airplane in Europe. Flying as low as 50 feet and carrying up to 4,000 kilos of instrumentation, it is certainly high risk, a risk these scientists must take in order to gain the best possible research.
I'm here at the facility of airborne atmospheric measurements at Manchester Airport at an open day. It is important that events like this take place for the general public to see just exactly what the scientists are doing their research for.
A maximum of 20 seats on board, so there's 2 pilots at the front. There's a mission scientist who writes a sortie brief the day before, submit that by midday. They put the plan into air traffic so that our plan is NOTAMs, which is an aeronautical thing that all aircraft have to do, so that people can be aware of where we're going to be flying, because we do unusual flying patterns. We can fly from 100 feet above the sea up to 35,000, and that's very unusual for an aircraft this size. If this was a passenger aircraft, it would hold 104 people, so you get an idea of the size of the aircraft from that, and just by looking down at it you can see.
The aircraft opened its doors to the general public last week to show exactly what goes on behind closed doors, allowing people to experience life inside the aircraft and gain knowledge as to why exactly we need these scientists in the air. Without proper funding for the aircraft and the scientists that work on board, these experiments can't be done and research would be limited.
We need to do calibrations on board, that's what we're using our cylinders for, and we're measuring all the pollution gases like carbon dioxide, methane. We can measure ozone and SO2 as well.
Groups were taken on tours throughout the day by the scientists themselves, explaining what some of the most valuable scientific instruments in the aircraft can do. Some were lucky enough to get a hands-on experience dropping a drop sonde from the plane and sitting in the flight deck.
Where you're stood is where the mission scientist sits, okay? And he or she runs the whole mission, so they're probably the most important person on the aeroplane, okay?
The science crew, consisting of a mixture of University, Met Office and NERC scientists, recently flew over Manchester and Liverpool to test out the city's air pollution. This is just one of the very many different projects these scientists work on to gather measurements for authorities to improve things like air quality. P. Muhlenstein reporting for Quays News.
Next up, can science help people fall in love? Well, our reporter Laura Bailey headed down to Amorance, a dating experiment part of Manchester Science Festival, to find out more.
Manchester Science Festival has taken a different approach to dating by experimenting how people fall in love.
Is there a formula behind falling in love? Well, here at Salford this evening, Manchester Science Festival have asked couples to answer 36 questions over 3 courses in the hopes that they will find a closer connection.
Manchester Science Festival has run throughout October to create meaningful science experiences.
We decided to make a really immersive and interactive experience where people come along, and we're trying to make them fall in love using a series of performances. We've got scientists along this evening, psychologists, and mixologists like myself along as well. So all these factors combined will create a really unique experience for each individual and each couple coming here this evening.
Couples rated their connection level throughout the night using playing cards. Results show that on a scale of 1 to 13, the average couple's score rose from 7 to 11 by the end of the night. But what do scientists think it all boils down to?
Well, there's lots of things that do happen kind of biologically to us when we fall in love. So, I mean, people sometimes say that, you know, the chemistry isn't right between people, and that's some indication that, yeah, there's some biological interaction that's happening. So our brain releases certain endorphins, or certain chemicals are produced by our bodies when we're attracted to somebody. So those things are pretty clear scientifically, and of course they do promote certain feelings. So we know that there is some science to it, but of course, falling in love is a deeply psychological thing, it's a deeply social thing, so you have to get those things right really to also make sure you have something solid.
From couples to first dates, Manchester Science Festival has tested the theory behind creating the spark.
It's kind of opened up kind of conversations, and I think we've had a really nice time. Obviously, we've also been asked to rate how closely we feel about each other.
Don't show me the
depending
card.
on the questions. So we'll have to see whether or not how we match up at the end. So it could be the end. It could
Or
be
the beginning.
End, or the beginning. We'll have to wait and see.
Laura Bailey, Quays News.
Now, Manchester and New York seem worlds away, but two graduate filmmakers from the University of Salford are bringing the streets of Manchester to Times Square. Sean Cooper and Chris Gamesbury, writers and producers of Corruption 2, filmed the self-funded thriller all around Greater Manchester. The film premiered at Media City UK and will be having a showing in Times Square this month. Sean Cooper is here with us in the studio.
Hi, right.
So, Sean, when did the idea for Corruption 2 come around then?
The idea for Corruption 2, well, it's been a 3-year project up to now. And the idea really stems from a prequel I did as a student here at University of Salford. We did a short 7-minute little feature, and our two central characters from that were also friends and students from the university as well. And the idea for Corruption 2 came from wanting to do our first ever full feature-length film and take on from that, really.
Okay. And so Corruption 1, you said, was more of a 7-8 minute thing. Was there any plans to sort of make that into a feature-length film like the sequel is?
Yeah, like I say, like with the sequel, it was a first ever attempt at doing a feature film, taking on this plot we began with Corruption 1. And so we went into full process from everything we'd learned on our degree. So we did casting auditions here at the university. We had people applying from all over the country, basically.
Well, and have you ever heard that apparently you're going to America?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. It's quite a turnaround it's had, especially in the last week or two, really, since we've had press releases go out. But yeah,
Are you excited?
Yeah, absolutely can't wait. We entered about 4 or 5 different festivals, and we've been accepted into 2 of them so far. I'm waiting on another one this next week. See what the result of that is.
So it's a very, from what we've read, we did a bit of research beforehand, so what we've read, it's very sort of Jason Bourne-esque from what we can gather. Do you agree? Where's the inspiration from then, do you think?
At the time, there's quite a few inspirations. So, like you can compare the plot line to something like Taken or like a Jason Bourne film, like you say, but and there's another part to the film that you only get to see when you actually go and watch it, and it's released in December. And that's the score. We had a lot of inspirations for the look of the film and the sound of the film from a film called Gone Girl, for example. So there's quite a few inspirations.
I've heard that book.
Yeah.
Watched that.
Yeah.
And we've heard it was filmed on those streets of Manchester as well, believe?
Yeah, we filmed all over Manchester. House scenes were literally my own family home and my uncle's home back home in Chorley. Near Preston, and the rest of the film was shot, all the way across Manchester. Here local in Salford, we did a lot of tracking vehicle footage, and as far as Stalybridge for some scrapyard scenes.
Okay, so was the sort of location, everything, and all this stuff quite difficult then, really, or was it quite easy?
I'd say it was one of the biggest challenges to the film, actually, because the film is a non-budget film. We've done a lot with zero budget, basically, and locations were the biggest thing. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you.
It's that time of the year where fireworks are annoying your pets or keeping you awake at night. If you want to catch a glimpse of any displays, will you need to bring a brolly? Nicola has the answers.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today will feel much colder than other days. It will be cloudy with widespread sunshine later in the afternoon, maybe with a little bit of rain. Wednesday and Thursday will start frosty, but there will be sunny spells during the days. Patchy rain will arrive later on Thursday with some heavier rain on Friday. That's all from weather today, so basically be prepared for everything because you never know. So have an umbrella with you and have a great week.
That's all for Quays News. You can catch the latest news, views and reviews on quaysnews.net.
Or you can follow us on Twitter at Quays News.
Goodbye.